With the re-release of Metroid Prime earlier this year, I was finally able to relive the mysteries of Talon 4, piecing together the puzzle of what happened to the Chozo and what lurks in the depths of the impact crater. All of this possible due to Retro Studios' satisfying introduction of the scan visor to the Metroid series. But what makes that gameplay mechanic satisfying? How does it improve the gameplay of Metroid Prime? And how does it help us, the player, understand why the space pirates are exploiting the resources of Talon 4? Before we answer that question, it's important to understand where the Metroid series was at that point. Metroid has long been the forgotten child of Nintendo. With sporadic long wait times between mainline releases, this popular franchise's first game was published in 1986. The formula of exploration in labyrinths and corridors to find upgrades was a success that inspired many games to follow a similar game design. It took 5 years for Metroid 2: Return of Samus to release. It took an additional 3 years for that formula to be perfected with the wonderful Super Metroid on the Super Nintendo. Fans were left wanting more year after year, waiting impatiently day by day until finally, 8 years later, on November 18th of 2002, Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime were released on the same day. Change is difficult, and transitioning from a 2D platformer to a 3D first-person shooter is a big ask for fans that have been waiting for 8 years. Nintendo tasked Retro Studios, a relatively new game development company at the time, with the near impossible task. Nowadays, Retro Studios is well lauded for its work on Metroid Prime, Donkey Kong Country, and even Mario Kart 7, but at the time they were unproven and near collapse even before Metroid Prime. So what led Nintendo to choose this troubled studio? Jeff Spangenberg is the founder of Retro Studios. He had been successful with his other company, Iguana Entertainment, which created Aero the Acrobat, NBA Jam, and Turok Dinosaur Hunter. Iguana Entertainment was bought out by Acclaim Entertainment in 1995. For the next 3 years he worked for Acclaim. He worked for Acclaim, being laid off in 1998. After securing an early deal with Nintendo of America, he recruited talent from Acclaim, ILM, Valve, Looking Glass, and LucasArts, to name a few. Retro was tasked with developing NFL Retro Football, a car combat game called Thunder Rally, an RPG called Raven Blade, and another action-adventure game for Nintendo's new console codenamed Dolphin. The team of 120 professionals were stretched thin over 2 years with nothing to show for their work. The problems that Retro Studios had at the time are subject for another video, but these troubles led to a crisis in leadership while Spangenberg mentally checked out. With mounting pressure from Nintendo for results, Nintendo of Japan came and tore them down. One employee recalls, "It was a bloodbath. They hated everything that we were doing. We weren't developing games in their philosophy. It was a huge cold splash of water in the face." Miyamoto decided that their science fiction action-adventure title had promise, especially because he had an idea for the first-person shooter in the Metroid universe. Retro became a one-game company, leading to half of the employees laid off. With the best of the developers remaining, Retro's employees focused their energies on Metroid Prime. They spent 6 months developing the first level that Nintendo approved, with less than a year to do the rest of the game. This led to a 9-month death march at the end of Metroid Prime. When you first begin Metroid Prime, you start on a space pirate frigate, the Orpheon, which escaped from Zebes after Samus put a stop to things there. It's orbiting Talon 4. As you venture in, you begin to realize this is not a spaceship. This is a graveyard. There are dead space pirates everywhere, a fire in the opening corridor, and a large dead creature. As you begin to explore, you find in the research lab more of these creatures in large pods. Eventually, your investigation comes to a halt when coming face to face with the Parasite Queen. This confrontation leads to the destruction of the ship and the introduction of Meta Ridley. He flies down to Talon 4 and Samus Aran follows suit. At this point, you are relatively free to do what you want on Talon 4 as you explore the Chozo ruins and pick up power-ups like missiles, the charge beam, super missiles, the double jump, the morph ball, and so on. However, there's a whole world to be explored with one of Metroid Prime's greatest mechanics to explore it with: the scan visor. At first, the scan visor might seem to be the most boring element of this science fiction action-adventure first-person shooter game, but it is critical in making Talon 4 and the game as a whole come alive. When the game begins, the only information you're given is, From there, you must use the scan visor to unravel the mystery of the space pirate motives. Early in the development, Retro Studios did not integrate the scan visor. They had the X-ray visor, the thermal visor, and the combat visor, but it wasn't until Nintendo pushed Retro to introduce the scan visor that Metroid Prime found its own unique identity. In an interview with Metroid Prime's game director, he recalled that Nintendo said, "This is going to be about the scan visor. This game is about scanning the environment." Retro Studios felt it was an action game, a first-person shooting game, but Nintendo insisted that this is how players can receive information, get tutorials, and instructions. We can do all these things with the scan visor. With the scan visor, players have the power to reveal the story at their own pace. Or not at all. This interactivity is unique to the medium of video games because it requires a player to take the initiative to learn more about the world of Talon 4 themselves. With this power in the hands of the player, they can act as a kind of archaeologist and explore the depths of the Chozo ruins, or act as a detective as they piece together what happened to the Chozo and what happened to the space pirates. The short cutscenes throughout the game say little but do move the story forward, whether it's showing you the importance of a holy place, or reminding you that Meta Ridley is on the prowl. This removes the need for clunky narration. Likewise, when facing enemies, the player can try to figure out how to kill their opponent on their own, or scan to learn about the weaknesses of a creature. The only time you need to actually scan something is to scan a computer or a few symbols around a room to unlock something. However, putting yourself in Samus's position by relying on your scan visor enhances the immersion as you dive deeper into the Chozo lore and the pirate data, and go into the depths of the Phazon mines. Before we dive into what we learn about Talon 4 through scanning, I'd appreciate it if you liked this video. It'd be really encouraging for me to see that stepping into talking about games is something you'd like to see from me, and would ensure that I continue to look for more exciting games to talk about. Thank you. Anyway, back to Talon 4. Upon entering a room on the Orpheon, holding a sedated parasite queen, you learn that 3 frigates escaped the fall of Zebes. They believe that the hunter, Samus, has not pursued them, and that their research on the Metroids and other promising lifeforms can continue. Of course, the frigate is in this dire situation because this is the end result of the pirates' affairs on Talon 4, because the pirates tapped into something they could not control: Phazon. You see, Talon 4 is a planet colonized by the Chozo that refused to uphold a technologically advanced society until disaster struck and the horror began. A meteor cast a dark shadow over the land with the violence of its impact. That meteor brought corruption, a great poison that caused a massive energy spike which the space pirates detected. The dark energy of Phazon poisoned all living things, killing them quickly, corrupting them, mutating them. The pirates planned to harness that power to evolve the perfect weapons. By the time the space pirates show up, the Chozo are long dead, but they didn't die before they put in place a structure that acts as a containment field for what lies beneath. The pirates plan to destroy the cradle if it means opening up the source of the Phazon. However, the Chozo believe that after they are gone, another will continue their work and put right the disaster that ended them. They created 12 artifacts for this person to collect, to unlock the cradle and face what lies within the impact crater. While the space pirates try to assess what they can extract from the planet, the space pirates begin their experiments by using Phazon to evolve parasites found on Talon 4. Though these creatures become unstable and die after the 4th infusion period, they remain ever hopeful. As the space pirates continue to do research on the planet, they discover lifeform readings deep within the crater. Metroid Prime, the corruption that eradicated the Chozo, who prophesied that a woman would purify it. Without the scan visor, the tragic history of the dying days of the Chozo would go unnoticed as Samus blasts her way down into the impact crater. By allowing players to learn for themselves what happened on this lonesome planet, the player is in a better position to be immersed into Samus's role and experience the dread the Chozo faced in their last days. In total, the scan visor mechanic opens up whole new possibilities for storytelling and gameplay diegetically by allowing you to discover enemy weaknesses on your own and uncover this fantastic science fiction story at your own leisure. Thank you for watching to the end, everyone. Leave a comment below to let me know what you think of the scan visor and what's your favorite Chozo lore or pirate data.